much. General Clark.
Mr. Chairman, at the end of World War II, when the United States had a nuclear weapons monopoly, and when our gross domestic product was 50% of the world's production, President Roosevelt and later President Truman recognized that even with that strength, the United States by itself wasn't strong enough, wasn't capable of handling all of the world's problems in assuring peace and security by itself. And so they sought to create an institution which would be better than the defunct League of Nations, and they built the United Nations. And President Truman said that the method of the United Nations should be that right makes might. We've spent the 55, 57 years since then trying to develop international institutions that would help strengthen America and help protect our interests as well as the interests of people around the world. But we recognized that a world in which nations are only regulated and guided unilaterally in seeking their self-interest is not a world that's in our best advantage. And so for that reason, I think it's very important not only that we've gone to the United Nations, but that we do everything we possibly can do to strengthen the United Nations to stand up to this challenge, to make itself an effective organization, to be able to cope with the challenge of Saddam Hussein's defiance of its resolutions. Beyond the issue of the United Nations and the international institutions we seek to live in, I think going to the United Nations has another important, very important benefit. In the long run, we're going to have to live with the people in the Middle East. They're our neighbors. They're just like us. Many of them have the same hopes and dreams. The more we can do to diffuse the perception that America is acting alone, America is striking out, America is belligerent, America is acting without allies, the more we can do to diffuse that, the more we can do to put that in the context of international institutions and the support of the governments in the region, the greater chance we have of reducing the recruiting draw of al-Qaeda, following through with the successful post-conflict operation in Iraq, promoting a resolution of the Arab-Israeli conflict, and promoting peaceful democratization in a number of moderate Arab governments. So I think the long-term consequences, the long-term benefits of operating through the United Nations are very high. And finally, there's an immediate short-term benefit. It'll be very, very useful to us to have allies. Many nations in that region want us to go through the United Nations. They'll be empowered by a United Nations resolution. So I think if we can get that resolution, it's to our near-term military advantage and our long-term advantage as a nation.
You just very briefly, General Hoare, because I'm out of time, give us your thoughts.